Welcome to the Brent Gove podcast with co-host Eric Lofholm. We are building 1 million agents in 100 countries in 10 years. Now, here's your host, Brent Gove.
Welcome to the Brent Gove podcast. I got my co-host, Mr. Eric Lofholm. Eric, how you doing today?
Hey, Brent, I'm doing great. I'm excited to be with you for our listeners so they can learn from you, and you always have great things to share with our listeners. I love that they have the opportunity to connect with you through the podcast. It's just a great way for them to be able to have some time with you. And so I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can share with us what you'd like to talk about today.
All right. Well, I had some time to think about this. I flew back from Fiji last night. It was 10 hours over the water.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a lot of water. It's like you're thinking, is this plane really just going to fly nonstop? Because there's no choice. There is no land. It's got to stay airborne. It's kind of I don't know. You feel a little vulnerable, but then you go, I'm just going to sleep. And I woke up at like 5 a.m. to breakfast. You know, fortunately, I had the good seats that lay flat. So I actually slept pretty good, had a nice breakfast, and then got here last night. But so life is good. But hey, today, Eric, I'm doing 10 keys to leadership. Like, how do I become a leader? What should I be doing as a leader? And so it's really a checklist, Eric. People can take this and go, okay, do I have this? So I want to go over it with you a little bit. I want you to respond. So the first thing I'm going to do is a leader has a vision. You know, if I say, hey, Jill, tell me what your vision is. Hey, Tim, what's your vision? What's your future like? And if you can't just spot on, then you got to go home tonight and you've got to figure out what your vision is. Like, what do I want? You know, what do I want to do with my life? You know, where am I going? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And figure out what you're excited about. I'll be doing that with one of my sons tonight. We're going to meet for dinner. I'm going to say, what do you want to do with your life? And would you like to get married? Would you like to have a family? What would that look like? Where would you live? Would you live in a house? Would you rent an apartment? Oh, no, I'd live in a house. Would the house have a pool? Would it have acreage? You know, would you take trips? Would you go to Hawaii? Would you be a snow skier with you? Would you be a snow skiing family, a water skiing family, both? You'd be in houseboats. I'm going to ask him, would you like to travel? And get it all out of him. I'm like, okay, great. How are you going to do that? He's going to go, I have no idea, Dad. And I'm like, okay, so this is the vision. Now we got to come up with a plan to make it happen. So I think number one, first and foremost, the leader has vision. Thoughts? What do you think? Agree, disagree? What are your thoughts there, Eric?
Yeah, I fully agree. You know, I know part of your story when you came to EXP is that you had the vision to build a large organization, and you went out and you successfully did that. And you regularly get out that yellow tablet and you write your goals and your dreams down and what you want to create in the future. So I'm 100% tracking with you.
Awesome. And by the way, if you don't have this amazing vision right now, there's nothing wrong with you. Eric forgets that when I first came to EXP, my vision was simply to go sponsor 10 to 15 people, maybe, hopefully they'd follow my example. Hopefully at the end of the year, I'd have 80 to 100 people in my organization, and then do the same next year. So 80 to 100 year one, then 80 to 100 year two, add that together for an organization of 160 to 200. What happened was, I believe within 9 months, I had about 450 within 9 months. So I was blew the goal out. And then from there, I got a new vision. I really thought about, like, oh my gosh, this thing has wheels. This thing's got feet. This thing has traction. There's where I set goals to have 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, up to 100,000 people in my organization. I've hit every one of those goals, except for one, the 100,000 person goal. But it's pretty exciting when you hit some big goals. So the vision's huge. So if you're starting off small, I think mine was small. I'd hoped, but so what is it? The Bible says, without hope, people perish. I think the hope is the vision, the hope of a better future, a vision of a better future. So awesome. Okay, number two, don't sweat the small stuff. A leader doesn't sweat the small stuff, like losing your phone. Don't freak out. I lost my phone this afternoon. And, and the funny thing, by the way, it's all small stuff. for the most point. It was a little stressful not having my phone for the last 2.5 hours. By the way, I still don't have it. I've been told it'll be delivered to me in the next hour. So I go 3.5 hours without a phone, and you realize how much you use it to email or call or text or anything. And so a leader doesn't sweat the small stuff. Relax, take a breath, breathe, go for a walk. What are your thoughts there on that topic of not freaking out, basically?
What I hear is prioritize. And so we all prioritize things in our life. The question is, what do you prioritize? And so when you're leading, you're having to play a bigger game. You've got responsibility for people. You're thinking about other people and how things impact them. And if you're stressing about some small thing, how effectively can we lead? So it's just prioritizing. It's playing a bigger game is how I heard that.
Nice. A funny thing, I was getting ready to do this. I was preparing for this talk on this podcast. And one of the gentlemen in my office outside my heard me talking about what I was going to say. And under this topic of don't sweat the small stuff, when something happens and it feels big, but it's really small, right? Big is losing a child. Big is the death of a loved one. You put it in perspective, right? I've been bankrupt twice, essentially, and here I am the third time, and we're doing great. You think the bankruptcy's the end of the world, the foreclosure's the end of the world. I've been there, done that, ring the bells. It's the beginning of a new world because of what you're going to learn. And so he laughed when I didn't have my phone and I had no way to reach you, Eric, to find out what the Zoom link was to record this podcast. He hollers, "Hey." Because I told him, I said, if you do have something, you got 90 seconds. Tony Robbins says you got 90 seconds to be upset. Go ahead and be upset, but don't be upset for the rest of the day. Come home and kick the dog. Take it out on your wife and children or your husband and children. It's like that's the height of immaturity. And so give yourself 90 seconds. And so he hauled out, "Hey, you got 90 seconds. And from what I've heard, you only got about a minute left." And we had a good laugh. It made me laugh. And he's using my own talk on me because I was disturbed. I didn't have a phone. I had no way to contact you, but we figured it out. Obviously, we're here doing the podcast. I thought that was pretty funny. What do you think of the 90-second rule, Eric?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. We can stay stuck in something for an hour, a half a day, a couple days, a week. Some people say stuck in stuff for months and maybe even years.
Tragic.
There comes a point where let it go, let it go. And so what I hear in that is let it go fast, use that energy and refocus your thinking on what you want to create versus spilt milk,
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Tony's favorite quote, Eric: energy goes where focus goes, energy flows. And so you're like going down this whirlpool of I'm upset, and then you get madder and madder. And all of a sudden, man, don't mess with mom. She is ticked. Dad's ticked because they've stayed with it. And now they've worked themselves up into a tizzy. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your family, your loved one, your staff, your clients. You are not going to take over the world in an angry, mad, ticked off state. That is your worst self. So, yeah. Okay. Number 3, 10 keys to leadership. Number 3, a leader's positive, not negative. They focus on the bright side. They look for the upside. They're looking for that silver lining. And they're always learning. They're like, okay, this sucks. Yep, this sucks. This was a mistake, but okay, this ain't not happening again. And the bright side is this will not be repeated or whatever. And but mainly is, I think, because some people are constantly, the Eeyore complex, or they constantly see storm clouds, or the glass is half empty instead of half full, or partly cloudy instead of partly sunny. I think it's really important to have a positive outlook on life, not Pollyanna, but man, we've all been around people who are flat negative, and I can't get out of those rooms quick enough. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, optimism is a learned skill. And I think a lot of people think, well, I'm either optimistic or I'm not. And it's like, no, it's a muscle. It's a muscle that can be developed.
So good. Preach it, Eric. Come on, man. I'm gonna remember that one. I'm gonna write that down. I'm writing it down. Optimism is a learned skill. Thank you.
Yeah. And especially in a field, Brent, like real estate, right? Because you've got cycles in real estate. And regardless of what's happening with the marketplace or the interest rates, you could have your own personal cycle of, hey, I got it 3 deals in the pipeline, they fall apart, right? So how do we respond when those are normal, natural things? A deal falls apart. It's like as common as anything. So how do I mentally respond when life doesn't go my way? And we can learn. One of my favorite quotes is, there's a version of you that exists inside of you that you haven't met yet. And so it's that version of that optimistic self that can emerge. And so, I love the importance of the positivity.
And people will notice when you become more positive, when you become more uplifting, when you're not a drag to be around, and when you dwell on the positive, and you dwell on gratitude, and you say, okay, yeah, this sucks. What is good? What can I learn from this? Or sometimes you just, God, thank you for the breath in my lungs. If that's all you can do, just stay there and stay with it. And because it's no bueno to go the other way. Good stuff. Okay, number 5, a leader raises the temperature of every room or every Zoom room they enter. You watch leaders when he or she enters the room, people are like, oh my gosh, Jill's here. I love Jill. Or oh, Tom's here. I'm like, Tom's here. Yeah, Tom just walked in. Everyone's excited. What is that? And those are leaders. They enter the Zoom room. They enter the room, physical room, and people are pumped to see them. It's just like, you want to be that person. Bring certainty with you, focus, a commitment, and that positive energy, the big smiles, and you're there to lift people up. You just are. That's what leaders do. And thoughts on that?
For me, it's, an effective leader. It's like that person comes in the room, it creates a calmness. Everything's going to be okay. This person just showed up. There's like a belief that people have in that leader, and it impacts their own belief in themselves, because they have this, hey, if this person's here, it's going to help, things are going to be okay. And we just saw the CEO of Chipotle go to Starbucks, and the stock price went up, Brent, like 20% in day one, just because there was a belief in the CEO there. It's like, oh, this is the leader that we need. And I think that's what I'm hearing, and what you're sharing is that leader like uplifts what's possible, within ourselves, because that leader's here.
So good. Richard Branson takes over a company. Boom. Elon Musk. Boom. One of the sharks on Shark Tank, it becomes your partner. There's a belief. So good. Lee Iacocca in the 70s took over Chrysler, and or maybe it was Ford, and then it was Ford, and came out with the Ford Mustang in the 60s, and it was the most famous car ever made, the 1966 Ford Mustang. I believe that was Iacocca. Then the 70s, Chrysler was failing. They brought him in, like the president of Chipotle, like you're saying. He came out with a Chrysler minivan, the most popular ever sold in America. And so a lot of times, so if you don't think that person, you're probably not that person. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you're probably right. Just believe I'm the person. Listen to the voice. I'm the voice. I'm the one. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to leave people better than I found them. I'm going to camp and leave the campsite cleaner than I found it when I came. And I'm weird. I'll be in a men's restroom and I'll see paper towels on the floor. I grab an extra paper towel after I'm done washing my hands, and I'll grab the paper towels with the clean paper towel, and I actually pick up men's restrooms. Not all the time, not to sound like a total weirdo, but if I'm walking through a Walmart shopping center, I live in Puerto Rico, exciting day is going to Walmart. There's not a lot of shopping choices in Puerto Rico, but and I'll see trash, I pick it up. I pick up trash. I was at a beautiful resort in Napa, very expensive. I don't know, $1,800 a night, and there's trash that it was stunning. And it was the morning, it was wet and dewy, and I'm picking up trash on the lawn and put it in the trash can. Then went to get my coffee. There were 2 or 3. It took me 30 seconds, but it felt good to leave it cleaner than I found it. And so I love that principle you're talking about. It makes a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, Brent. Thanks for sharing that.
You bet. Number, what did I say? I think I forgot number 4.
6.
I skipped number 4.
Okay.
If you're going to throw up, not down or across. My mentor in real estate threw up on me one day in 1999, and he said, "It's over. It's over. I'm done. I'm quitting real estate." He'd been in it for 20 years. I looked up to him. I want to be like him. I'm on my way up. And he goes, "Forget it. I'm out." Throws in the towel in front of me, barfed all over me, threw up on me. It shook me to my core. Thank God I went to another Remax office in Fair Oaks, and I met Steve. And I, I mean, if I had 2 or 3 in escrow, that was awesome. Meet someone 4, maybe 5 in escrow. Holy crud. I see Steve, total normal guy, the average Joe, normal guy, nice guy, but nothing overly special about him. He's just normal as normal could be. And my mentor drove dressed like he walked out of Nordstrom, suit, tie, starched white shirt. He always hair perfectly combed, leather shoe. He always looked perfect. He looked like a banker from Wall Street. Just looked great. And Steve wore jeans and a plaid shirt. He's just a normal guy. "How's it going, Steve?" "Great, man. It's going awesome." And I just come from my mentor who threw up on me, and I was like, God, it shook me. And I'm an hour of staying with that thought. And I go, "What's so great?" He goes, "Man, I got 7 homes in escrow." My eyes got big. I'd never met anyone with 7 homes in escrow. And I'm like, wow. And back then the commissions were like $5,000 a house. And I go, "That's like $35,000 this month." Some people, it's all they earn in a year. You made that in a month. What are you doing? And he's like, "I'm doing this, doing that." And I left there excited because proximity's power. I got around somebody who was on fire, and that came on me. So you either give people love, joy, peace, happiness emanates from your being, or you give them stress, anger, ticked offness, and people want to get away from you. And so are you repelling or attracting, And so I think it's very important to be careful. If you're really bummed out about something, go to your mentor, not someone you're mentoring, and don't throw up on those around you. Go to the appropriate person and say, "I'm really struggling with X." But that's just my opinion. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. What I hear there is get around greatness, and we've talked before, I think, about Steve Hardison. He's known as the ultimate coach. He's somebody that charges $200,000 a year to coach with him. And he's somebody like you got around that guy doing 7 transactions. And I get around Hardison whenever I can. And that uplifts me because he thinks different, right? That's why he's who he is. And so getting around people, and for all of you listening right now, like, who are you getting around with intention? Right? Who are you seeking out to spend time with? And the other day, Johnny Jennings was sharing with me that he sought you out to spend time with you. And Tom Daves, he said he did 50 ride-alongs with Tom for his listing presentation, right? So it's like a guy like emerging superstar in real estate, getting around you, getting around Tom Daves. I was like so impressed that Johnny did that. But everybody listening can do that. Where can you find people in your life that proximity is power concept that Brent was talking about? I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts with being willing to join a coaching program. I've joined some and it wasn't worth it. That's part of that. I wish I could say every coach you hire, every mastermind program you join, it's going to be life-changing and amazing and fireworks. That's simply not the truth. And some of them won't work out. But I found ones I start off at like $497, then $697, then $897, then $1,200 a month, then $2,500 a month, then $5,000 a month, then $10,000 a month. And the more I paid attention. And then it was $85,000 a year, then $150,000 a year. I just joined a business group with Tony Robbins, $250,000 just to get through the door. But you're with people at a higher level. I flew to Fiji, separate from that, did a life and wellness event, a life, health and wealth event I was out there 16 days. But I spent, just to attend for 7 days, it's like $10,000, and you can swing it if you have to. I mean, 18-year-olds spend $50,000 a year on college. You can find $10,000 as a grown man or woman. Figure it out, get yourself there. But there was a guy there in the wealth part. He was making $200,000 a month net passive cash flow from his investment business in apartments. He started off buying duplexes, then triplexes and quadplexes. Now he plays high, but he makes over $200,000 a month, not a year, $2.4 million a year yet, whether he gets out of bed or not. I have investments, but then cash flow from them, that's another thing. So cash flowing investments. So guess who I got to go know really well over those 7 days? Guess who said he'd coach me and teach me? So for $10,000, I have a guy who makes $200,000 a month net passive income from investments. He's going to teach me how to do that, because I've had months where I've done a lot more than that, but it was an active income type situation. This is like putting money on overalls on your money and having your money make money for you. I taught this to my son. He had an extra $20,000 laying around. He lent it to a good friend of mine, and the guy's going to give him $2,000 for a month. And so he's going to, the money in the bank, 20 grand a month from now, it'd still be 20 grand. Now, next month, he could lose it. Not with this person, but he's going to have $22,000. And I go, how long would it take you to make $2,000 at your job? He's a waiter at a sushi restaurant. He has 2.5 weeks. I go, you just lent your money. That was all your activity. It took you probably 5 minutes to transfer it. And you're going to get you're going to get 2.5. You realize what he's like, oh, this is great. And so he's leveraging what he saved, and it was pretty cool. I'm proud of him to see him do that. Okay, moving on. Number 6, leaders master the massive action game plan. 10 keys to leadership. Number 6, leaders master the massive action game plan. At one point in their life, they just really do. And that creates momentum. You're leading by example. You have street credibility. You've walked the walk. Not only did you talk the talk, you walked the walk. And, the old Tony Robbins massive action creates results. Plus you failed forward faster, and massive action, you're just failing, but you're falling forward, and you're learning. And pretty soon you're falling less. Pretty soon you're running like a long distance runner. You're just flying across the earth, and you're not falling as much because you got it all condensed into a short period of time. Whereas if most people just poke it with a stick from time to time, they never really learn, and they live a life of quiet desperation, going 5, 10, 15, 20 years, never really getting anywhere because they didn't suffer in a short period of time. Thoughts on that?
I love massive action. And one of the things, Brent, that I'll hear in a coaching call, someone will be coaching with me, and they'll say, Eric, I'm struggling. I am inconsistent. And whenever we have that I am, we're declaring something. So it's like saying, universe, I'm inconsistent. Please bring that into my reality.
Yeah.
Right? And so my declaration is I am massive action. My other declaration is I play 7+ on a scale of 1 to 10 every day, 7, 8, 9, or 10, bar none, no questions asked. So I have language that supports massive action and consistency. I am consistent. So if you're listening to this right now, think about what are you declaring about action? Are you declaring I'm in a funk? Universe, I'm in a funk. Please bring that in my reality, right?
Bring me funky people.
We want to speak what we want to create, and that's something, Brent, that you and I share in common. I gave 5 speeches the other day when I texted you where I was down with Fidel and his team doing a real estate conference for his group. I was in person there. I had 4 other speeches, and 2 of the speeches, Brent, I was driving down to Vacaville, pulled over, had my laptop on Zoom. I'm zooming from the car. One of them was with Jeff Sipes' team, Jeff from Blue Water Credit. So I was in front of 5 groups in one day. Most people are in front of 5 groups in 5 months if they're a speaker, right? 1 or 2 months. So I'm right there with you on the massive action. And and if there's ever been a time for massive action in real estate, it's right now.
Come on, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah.
The tough gets going, the going gets tough. Let's rock. Party on. Okay, number 7, leaders are congruent with their goals. They let their actions do the talking. Your actions speak so loud I can hardly hear what you're saying. You set these goals, then you get congruent with them with your action. You're taking action steps. Like I tested for my blood work and I was low testosterone, like anybody about turn 60, or a lot of men tend to go lower. So what I do, I got the testosterone pellets And I tested today and I went back in. I'm up at 900, and a normal male is supposed to be 800 to 1,000. I'm at 900. They were super happy. And they noticed that my muscle mass went up. Now I'm like Hulk Hogan. Not really, but I put on, I think, 5 pounds of muscle. And so
Nice.
that was good. And then lost 10 pounds of lard. So, and that was purely from doing the testosterone, because I'd been working out and eating better, but specifically they noticed in the last 30 days, boom, just like that, because my testosterone was much lower, and like, oh, your body likes this. It likes the testosterone, helps with building muscle. So number 8, they focus on vision and goals. Focus, focus, focus. You know, energy flows where focus goes. So where focus goes, energy flows. So you could focus on why you should be married to him, why you shouldn't be married to her, why your team is terrible, why you are terrible, and you'll just have more of those thoughts. So you really got to take control and grab a hold of instead of being like a thermometer going up and down with your day. Oh, you sold a home, it's an escrow, you got a listing, you're having a good day. Oh, you got fired from the listing and the sale fell out of escrow, you're having a bad day. And you're more reacting to your environment. What you gotta do is set that thing at 72 degrees and be like a thermostat, not a thermometer going up and down with your environment. Immature people go up and down with their environment. Tony Robbins calls it being in a beautiful state. And we spent a lot of time on that last 7 days. He goes, where are you on the beautiful state? He goes, you be in a beautiful state every day. I choose to be in a beautiful, it's a muscle. I'm in a beautiful state. You can rock my world. I'm going to stay in a beautiful state. You can mourn in a beautiful state. You know, it's not that you're smiling and laughing, but there's a way to be at peace in the storm. You know, the story of Jesus in the storm, and he was asleep in the boat. He was in a beautiful state. The disciples woke him up and says, we're dying. We're going to drown. Save us. And he got up and rebuked the wind and the waves, and everything went calm. They're like, oh my gosh, who is this guy? Well, you know, we know who he was and is. But so stay focused on your vision. Read them constantly. Get vision boards in front of you. And I'm going quickly this time because I have 2 left and I want to wrap up. We're a little over today. Number 9, leaders create events to build culture and education within their organizations. Leaders create, a big thing with Tony Robbins. Obviously, I'm a big John Maxwell, Zig Ziglar, Grant Cardone, 10X, and Tony Robbins. You know, kind of person. And a big thing that Tony's into is create the future you want, create the marriage you want, create the family you want, create the financial situation you want. Leaders create. Get a t-shirt. I saw one, create, on the back. And so what are you doing to create culture? Like, you taking your people to Top Golf? I can't afford that. Volleyball at the park. There's things you could do to create culture and fun and mutual respect and love, and then education. Who are you getting into? Like Jeff Sipes from Blue Water Credit had you speak to his team. Miguel and Fidel in Vacaville had you speak that they're creating culture and education, so they're leaders. Jeff Sipes is a leader. Fidel and Miguel are leaders, and so this is what I do, the same thing. So in other words, they support their organizations, they support their people. So that's number 9. Leaders create events to build culture and education within their sales organizations. Thoughts on that before we go to our final point, number 10?
Yeah, I think what you said there with Jeff hiring me to speak to his team. I mean,
I like how you put that in there. Hiring me.
Yeah. He paid awesome. My fee.
By the way, I'm going to give you a shameless plug. If you're listening to this and you love Eric, and he's amazing. He was one of the top Tony Robbins trainers in the world. I've hired and worked with Jeff. With Eric for years and years and years and years. I started hiring him to work for me over a decade ago, and we've specifically been very tight the last 4 or 5 years, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
And so he co-hosts the podcast for me now. I still pay him. And so I need help and workers worth their wages, and he's amazing. So if you would like to hire Eric to either coach you or coach your organization or your sales team to go to the next level, he is a rock star. He's who I lean on. How do they, and you didn't know I was going to do this. I didn't know I was going to do this, but it kind of fit in here. You made me laugh. He hired me. So how do people hire you if they want to see what you would charge you to coach them or their salespeople or speak to the organization? How do they reach out to you?
Yeah, email eric@ericlofholm.com or just find me online. I'm literally the only Eric Lofholm in the world. So if you Google me, I'm on all the social media. So reach out to me over email or Facebook or LinkedIn. I'd love to have a conversation with you and explore how I can support you. So, Brent, I appreciate that. And it's really a pleasure to work with you and the EXP family. And I think
no problem. Hold on.
Yeah.
I know they're thinking, how do I spell Eric Lofholm? So it's ERIC, then Lofholm, just like it's
ERIC at ERICLOF like Frank, HOLM like Mary.com. And just mention that you heard Brent talk about me on the Brent Gove podcast, and we can set up a call. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And what's great about Jeff, and this is for all of you leaders that are listening, right? So Jeff's thinking about his team, and he's thinking, what can I do to add value to my team? I'm going to bring in an outside consultant, bring in an outside speaker. And then with Fidel and Miguel and Brandon down in the Solano County, they have a vision to be the leading provider of real estate education in their community, similar to how you have the vision in Placer County where we live. You're the leader. EXP is the leader, led by you, of providing real estate education in Placer County. And so Fidel and Miguel and Brandon took that idea, and then they said, okay, let's bring Eric down and help the agents with the scripting because they need the new buyer presentation script. And so that was great leadership on their part to create an event, not just for their team, but for the entire community. And what was so exciting, Brent, they built a relationship with the Board of Realtors, and they did the same thing you did. That event was at the Board of Realtors. So it's so beautiful watching vision in action. And Jeff, I've gotten to know him. He's a great leader. He has great vision. And Fidel and Miguel and Brandon as well down there in Solano County.
I love it. 100%. Those are leaders. So our final point today, number 10, leaders constantly go to growth events for themselves. I mean, you can't give what you don't have. How would you like to be filled up with vision and goals and strategy that were overflowing out of you, and energy and love and goodness and peace and gratitude that it splashes on other people around you? Whereas when your bucket, your cup is so low, you're like, man, I'm empty. So it's because you're not going yourself. So why did I go to Fiji and buy the airline tickets and pay $10,000 and go on the other side of the world? It's 3.5 hours from Australia, out in the middle of nowhere, Fiji. And because I wanted, and then I met people there who are just rocking it. It was good for my health, good for my wealth, and it was a health and wealth retreat. And so whether it's 10X with Grant and Elena Cardone or John Maxwell or Gary Vee or Eric Lofholm or an event I put on, go Ed Milet's speaking in March at my Cabo event. We'll have 1,100 people there. Ed Milet's flying out. Rumor has it Tom Ferry might be there. All kinds of big players are coming. The founder of EXP, Glenn Sanford, the CEO, Leo Pareja. We got major players coming in. It's going to be great. That's in March. But leaders constantly grow to growth events, and so, you're either going to change or you're going to get past. What got you here is not going to get you there. In other words, what brought you here is not going to help you get to your goals and dreams. You have to constantly evolve, constantly change, grow, learn, change, and become the person that can get to your vision in your life. So that's my 2 cents. And I've been going to events for 40 years. And why do you keep going? Because I love being a student of life, not just real estate. So final thoughts on that final point, Eric. The floor is yours.
Yeah, come back to the quote. There's a version of you that exists inside of you that you haven't met yet. And to meet that version, you got to put the work in. And part of that work is you go to an event, you hear one speaker, multiple speakers, you meet the people at the event, puts you in a different environment, and you leave there a different person than when you came. And you just do that over and over and over again. And that's something I've done throughout my career, and you've done it as well and continue to do it. And so that's going to wrap up another great edition of the Brent Gove podcast. Today was loaded with awesome, great content. The energy was on point. Please listen to the podcast multiple times to put these best ideas in your subconscious, and share the podcast with your team, with your organization. Right now, get the links, text it out to your team, let somebody know about it, put it in your group chat so they can benefit from all these great ideas that we talked about today and benefit from this energy. And Brent, it's great to be with you today.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks for having me on. This is great.
Okay, so here's the deal. We have incredible information, video content on my YouTube channel. Go over there and make sure you subscribe. And it's vital that you ring the bell. If you ring that bell every time I put out new content, it's actually going to notify you, and you can get the latest and greatest of what's happening at EXP. Now, don't forget to like me on Facebook so you can also get that content, and then follow me on Instagram. We're hitting everybody high, low, and in between. We're trying to get the information out there so you can build big businesses, revenue share organizations. So go to YouTube right now. Please subscribe and ring that bell. Like me on Facebook and follow me on Instagram. We'll see you out there.